put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show. It's a 7:13 a.m. on this beautiful Thursday morning, and it gets even more beautiful as we head on into Friday and we think about the weekend, most certainly. But in this interview, we get started this morning. We are chatting with none other than Rodney Piggott, and he's the chairman for Tobago CivilNET. And we're speaking about Tobago CivilNET's autonomy survey, most certainly which we heard about over the last few weeks, and definitely to get some feedback and perspective now as we're at the point of what are the findings indeed saying to us. Good morning to you, Mr. Rodney Piggott.
Good morning, Mr. Skeete, and good morning to Tobago's Updates viewers around the world.
Yes.
And probably in space by now.
I'm going far and wide, far and wide. So as we get the conversation started, I want to start in terms of putting context. The Tobago CivilNet would have launched this comprehensive survey as it relates to a very passionate issue for us here in Tobago, and in fact even beyond Tobago, one with a great focus and attention. Probably not enough action, but great focus and attention.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about, what was the objective and the drive behind this in the first instance?
Well, in our discussions, we wanted to begin stirring the pot aggressively towards this issue of Tobago achieving its greater autonomy. We felt as though much wasn't being done about it, and it's currently stalled in our parliament. And so we wanted to begin to agitate conversations on that from the grassroots to stimulate our government officials, both here in THA and Parliament, to get this accomplished in this sitting of Parliament. And someone said, well, before we jump out there and talk about, having forums to educate the people and raising discussions on it, let's see if we could find out how much the people know, what they know, where they are, get some sort of benchmark. And so let's launch a survey to that effect. And that's where the idea of a survey came in. So it's really preemptive to us wanting now to raise these forums in order to get the people really involved from the grassroots. And while the survey itself has started a lot of conversations, we know that the forums will address whatever concerns the people may have.
So ultimately it was about taking that sample out of the population to really give some sense of guidance, our sense of where we want to take things in terms of information and education.
Yes, exactly.
So let's dive on in. And I know when you would have been on before, there were numerous methods identified, etc., in terms of reaching out there and connecting with persons to be able to participate in the survey. So we want to dive on into the findings coming out. And let's start from the perspective of what was that overall appreciation or concept, and then we get into the numbers.
Well, we felt as though while the response wasn't great, it wasn't the greatest response there is, but it wasn't absolutely bad either. We know that because of the numbers, if you look at the numbers, one would say, well, it's not necessarily representative of the Tobago voice, so to speak. That's on paper. But one has to appreciate that when you move around Tobago and you talk to people, people really appreciated the fact that Tobago CivilNET did the survey. I had to come back to our group in one day and just kind of shout out at them, hey, my day was just inundated with people stopping me and congratulating me on what a great job they did. And the important thing is that they said that the 153 people that responded, that was my voice. They said what I wanted to say or how I felt. So even though the numbers, the statistical numbers themselves may say one thing, they may say, well, you can't really use these numbers to represent Tobago. You have like maybe a 75 to 80% confidence rating there. But the actual ground people, when you talk to the people on the ground who don't know A from B about statistics, they're not following statistics and numbers and what the computers say, they just know that based on the results that they have seen in this survey, that's exactly how they feel.
All right. Tell us a little bit about the familiarity that came out based on your respondents regarding an understanding of autonomy, and how they saw it, greater control, that kind of thing.
Right.
What percentage looked into that?
What we got, and you should have the numbers there, but what we got was about a good 94% said we are familiar with this concept of autonomy. Now, we used the word familiar on purpose. We didn't want to use the word, what do you really know? We didn't want to go that deep. We just wanted to know, your familiarity with it. Have you heard of this concept of Tobago's autonomy? And about a good 94% said yes, we are familiar with it, right? Now, that is instructive because a good 88% now said we need more information. So you see now you can look at the familiarity and say that familiarity is not really a deep knowledge, right? Not a clear understanding of it, because 88% now are saying we need more information. And that little piece of information is what we really wanted to get from the people, you see. And people are saying to us that even in some of the town hall meetings that the executive have been having around the country, there are people that have been stepping up to the microphone, speaking on the issue of the autonomy, and saying directly to the executives, we need more information. You see, so this is what I mean by you can't just look at the numbers and say, oh, because the numbers is low, let's disregard what is being said. It's tantamount to you being in an environment, let's say a room, everyone's in the same room. You have like 10 people in the same room, and it's getting uncomfortable in there. It's getting hot, but nobody wants to speak up, right? Because no one wants to be the person to break the silence, so to speak. And then one person speaks up, say, oh, it's hot in here. And then what do you hear? An exhale. Sure, you're right. It's sure hot in here. You see? People are really sitting back waiting for just one person to talk. And then you'll hear the exhalation. And this is what we're hearing now in the grassroots, in the civil society realm. We're hearing that exhalation. We're hearing people saying, I'm sure glad somebody said we need more information, because that's right, we need more information, you see? And so that's where the real crux of the matter really is what the people on the ground are now saying after the results have been in.
So another area that I want to get your perspective on as well, it's saying here, and this is a very interesting, 53% believe that Tobago is ready for autonomy, while 37% disagree, and then we have the balance there might have just been wavering in between. What does this signal to you in terms of what we see as the outcome here? Probably just over 50% of the respondents of that belief. Do you think that that's a wider cross-section of what's happening in the Tobago space?
I think it is. Personally, I really think it is. I think what it's really saying is that while we're familiar with this subject, balance that against the fact that we need more information. Somewhere in the middle, we're ready. You see, so that 53% really is between that 94 and that 88. You see what I'm saying? It's like, yes, we're familiar. We need more information, and here we're going to say we're ready for it, but we need more information, because you can't really be ready for something and then you need more information at the same time. So that's why you see that number, 53%, being lower than the number that says we're familiar with it, and even the number that says, we need more information. It's angling towards giving the thumbs up, the green light, and say, let's go full speed ahead. But it's a number that says, let's proceed with caution. Before we jump full speed ahead, let's get that more information that the people need, because there may be something in there that we haven't gotten, right? So in all of the years of this drive for autonomy, the people today are saying something is still missing in all of the information that we've been getting. And we're hearing that on the ground, Julien. You're hearing from people when you talk about autonomy, some people think it's about, Tobago just going its own way, right? Let's get up on our feet, let's walk, and let's literally walk out on Trinidad. We don't need you, you see? And so they're angling towards secession without saying the word. Some people are using the word independence without really saying the word, you see. But really what it is, and I think the Chief Secretary said it last night, it's about that greater autonomy, that greater responsibility that Tobago actually needs. It's not necessarily that we want to sever ties with Trinidad. That's not what we're looking for at this point. What we're looking for is Tobago to just have more
So
responsibility.
does this therefore tie in with the, again, looking at one of the areas highlighted here, 65% believe that the central government exerted more influence over the affairs of Tobago, yet 84% expressed that the THA should have the greatest influence. So that ties into the to the very point that you're making in that regard.
Exactly. So you can see even from the small number of respondents, and we have to go back to this because we want to definitely put it out there that the number that responded is not necessarily on paper representative of the Tobago voice because we didn't achieve that confidence rating. But what you're hearing from the ground, in reality, you're hearing that exhalation and you're hearing people actually agreeing with what the 153 people said. So if all of those people now that are exhaling, that are saying, yes, that is my voice, if they actually responded to the survey, we would probably see the numbers being much larger in terms of the number of people that responded and said the same thing. Because people are saying it now.
I want you very quickly to just elaborate for me. The governance of Tobago by the central government received negative ratings, with 39% considering it not very good, 27% saying very bad, and only 23% expressing positive views. What are you speaking today? Is it the relation that we're looking at, or the both working to the benefit of the island?
I think both. I think the relation that has been there for a while. I had the opportunity to peruse the Hansard from back in 2000 when the dispute resolution recommendation was being haggled in Parliament. And you know, when you hear, I think it was Pam Nicholson and Morgan Job, I believe is his name. When you heard the comments they were making, especially Miss Nicholson, the comments she was making then about the then government, which was UNC, not PNM, about how they were treating Tobago and neglecting Tobago. It was almost like a page out of Walter Rodney's book, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. One could probably say this is what they were saying was how Trinidad's underdeveloped Tobago, because the same thing that is being said was said then back in 2000. That's 23 years ago. Is the same thing that is being said now, and it's a different government in place. So one must now wonder: is the relationship between central government and Tobago one of the administration that's in place, whether it's what party is in place, or is it almost like a black book that each administration comes in and looks at the black book, okay, keep Tobago where they are, and everyone just kind of follows that script, you see? So what you're hearing there are people recognizing that how Tobago is literally being treated, where Tobago is now in its infrastructure development, should have been further along based on the fact that it is Trinidad and Tobago. Some people like to make the argument that, you know, well, some of that money, you know, is Toco and Mayaro and all of those places. But it's not Trinidad and Mayaro. It's not Trinidad and Toco. It's Trinidad and Tobago. So those two islands, if you will, should be on equal footing in terms of how the central government responds to them both. One should not be responded to in a larger sense with more a focus than the other. And what people are seeing in that response, what people are saying is, it appears to us that central government functions more like the government of Trinidad, and Tobago is merely an appendage to Trinidad. That's what the people are really saying in that sort of response.
All right, and very quickly for us before we close this morning, what's the next step for the Tobago CivilNET coming out of these findings?
Right, so the next step now is to do as we initially wanted to do. Now that we have these results now, we are now in the lab looking to put together several forums, and we don't just want to focus the forums in Scarborough only. So we want to go Scarborough, we want to go up east, we want to go down west, and then we want to go over to the north side. So we want to have at least 4 comprehensive forums drawing on those subject matter experts in the area of Tobago's greater autonomy drive, and then respond now to the information deficit that the people expressed that they have in that 88% saying we need more information. So we now need to go to the people and say, open up now. Let's hear what it is that you don't understand about this autonomy drive. Some people want to know, why is it that it did not go forward in the last iteration? That needs to be explained to the people in full, why it did not go forward, what it is about what is currently in the bills that is a deal breaker that must be fixed in order for us to really go forward meaningfully and have greater autonomy for Tobago passed in this sitting of the House.
All right, thank you very much there again, Rodney Piggott, certainly bringing us up to speed in terms of the findings and the information coming out. And, you know, this is certainly, as I mentioned before, an area of focus, an area that requires the necessary attention, and we look forward to the attention that will come to it. And we see here taking a significant role, one of our NGOs here in Tobago, the Tobago CivilNET. And just as a reminder to persons, you can connect with them and find them via Facebook, as well as you can also connect with them at tobagocivilnet@gmail.com, or you can also contact Mr. Piggott himself at 323-1958. So viewers, we say thank you very much again for joining us here on the Tobago Updates Morning Show. Each and every one of you continuing to choose the Tobago Updates Morning Show. And in fact, you may not know, or you may know, but Mr. Rodney Piggott is certainly one of our loyal viewers. So he's going to join me now as we head on out to the break to tell you, remember to share the live, share the live, share the live.